What's up, everyone? All right, in today's episode, I'm gonna break down all of my trades from the morning. Today was another day where I only traded one stock. It was all about discipline. In fact, there was only one really obvious setup today, and this stock squeezed up over 300%. Amazing. Now, in fact, it was not an A quality setup. It was a B quality setup, and I'll break down why as we go into this episode. Now, I think my approach for today, I knew that we had just wrapped up the month of April. It was a great month. I'm gonna give you my April month in review a little bit later, so that's coming. But April was solid. Not the best month of the year, but second best. So really can't complain. But when you start the new month on a Thursday or a Friday, that always feels a little tricky because usually my momentum begins early in the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then kind of easing off Thursday, Friday. So when the new month starts on that Thursday or Friday, I'm always like, this is tricky because if I try to go aggressive, I could end up digging myself a hole first day of the new month. And then I go into that first full week and I'm already red and it just throws me off. So I said to myself, go slow. It's a new month, be patient. You know, April was great, but it finished kind of slow. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not the best days of the month. So it was a little slow to finish. And I just thought, you know what? Right now it's a time to batten down the hatches and wait. Now it means I still have to show up every single day. I know exactly what I'm looking for, but until I see it, I gotta slow down and I gotta be cautious. And even if I see something popping up, I have to be thoughtful about the fact that we've seen a lot of pops and rejections this week. So here's what I did this morning. Let's go ahead and jump on the chart. We had ZCAR. This stock went up over 300%. Unbelievable, huge move. And what's really interesting is that the move actually started after hours. So I saw this on my scans this morning because it was gapping up a little bit thanks to that after hours pop. Now it was like later in the after hours session. I don't really know what the catalyst was that gave us that little pop. The reason this is not an A quality setup is because there was no news. Everything else checks out. The price between 2 and 20, no problem. Is it up more than 10% on a day? Absolutely. Does it have 5 times relative volume? Absolutely. Does it have a news catalyst? No, that we're not sure about. Couldn't see one. And number 5, is the float less than 20 million shares? And the answer is yes. So if a stock meets all 5 pillars of stock selection, I'd consider it to be A quality. If it meets 4 out of 5, I'd consider it to be B quality. If it meets 3 out of 5 and I'm still trading it, I'm an idiot. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 times in a row. See, this is what happens is I start trading these stocks that are C quality setups and I lose money. Now, I should know by now never to do it, but occasionally in a hot market, you know, I'll get a little overconfident and I'll trade anyway. So in this episode, I'm going to put a link where you guys can download my technical analysis PDFs. There's a number of them that you can download. There's my 112-page technical analysis worksheet, which is going to break down all of the chart patterns that I'm trading pretty much every single day. You can print those out. You can use them in your own trading. There's another PDF on that same page where you can download my 5 pillars of stock selection. So all that suite of PDFs is available for you guys. Link is in the description. You download them for free, print them out, use them in your own trading as you wish. Let me know what you think of them. So ZCAR met it met 4 out of the 5 pillars of stock selection. And basically I was sitting here this morning between 7 and 8 a.m. doing kind of my reviewing some metrics from students from the month of April. And we were just sort of sitting here. And then all of a sudden I hear ding, ding, and ZCAR is hitting the high day momentum scanner. So let's go back to the earlier in the morning when it first hit that scanner, which was right around 8 a.m. Okay, so as you guys know, my routine is to sit here top and bottom of the hour, waiting for news. And even though we didn't have anything that was looking really good this morning, I have to show up because you just never know when you're going to get news. So all of a sudden, ZCAR hits my scanner right here, 8:04. And because it was just past 8 a.m., I wondered if there was news. I typed in the symbol. I can click on this symbol right here. I can pull it up. I didn't see any news headline. So I was like, I don't know. But I had already looked at the chart earlier because it had been a gapper. So we had this pop after hours right there. So I'm going to get rid of all my drawings, remove drawings, remove drawings. So ZCAR had popped up yesterday to about 550, right? Then it pulls back, and then right here, it's popping up again. So as it's popping up, I'm looking at it, I pull it up, and I say, you know what? I'm going to take a starter for the break through this level, 550. So if it had not hit my scanner right here, I wouldn't have seen it. But it was on my scanners right there. And so boom, I took my first trade for the break of 550. So on that trade, I used hotkeys to enter. I didn't even have time to type in my order entry window, the price I wanted to buy. I just pressed the hotkey, shift to 2,000 shares, sent it. I filled 906 shares. All right. So then I pressed it a second time. I filled 2,000 shares. I'm like, okay, now I'm in with 2,900 shares. I pressed it a third time. I filled another 2,000 shares. Now I've got 4,900 shares, and it goes up to 575, 589, and I add for the break of 6. It squeezes up to 6, and it goes all the way up here on this candle. Let's fast forward this. Right up here, we'll do auto. This is unbelievable. Look at this. It goes to 6. It goes to 650. It goes to 7. It goes to 750. It goes to 8. It goes to 850. It goes to 9. To 940. Does a pullback, and then it pops up there to a high of 1044. Incredible. Boom. Now, you might say, Ross, I'm surprised you're not up on this more. I'm green $33,000. Shouldn't you be up 40 or 50 grand? Well, as I said, it was a B quality setup. It didn't meet all 5 pillars of stock selection, and it pretty quickly got a little extended. So I got the first trade right around here on the break of 550 as it popped up and was hitting the scanners. And then I was adding on these dips right here, and then we get that squeeze higher. Adding on the dip, squeeze higher. Adding on the dip, double topped, ended up stopping out of that, gave back a little profit. So right here I peaked with about $23,000 of profit and gave back $1,000 off the top when it dipped back down. I don't mind giving back a little off the top, that's no problem. It dips down, and off this level, I said it looks like we've got potentially a head and shoulders pattern forming. Shoulder, head, shoulder, and that would bring us back down. But I said, you know, it seems to be holding support here. So I did a little dip off of 850. Well, I wanted to get in at 850. I got in a little higher. But support was 850. We got a little pop up to 950, and then it's back down. I tried to trade it in this area, and, you know, it kind of kept popping up and dropping down, not really working. Another pop right there, didn't really pull away. It ends up dipping down, and then on the 1 minute chart, we're actually going below VWAP. So we end up pulling back here, and we sell off below VWAP. At that moment, KIDZ hits the scanner, KIDZ, and this one pops up, drops down, and then starts to rally. But to me, I just thought it's too cheap at $1.80. It ended up going up to over $4 a share. So I was wrong, and I left some money on the table on that. But nonetheless, walked away with profit, so I can't complain. So anyway, switched back to ZCAR, kept it on watch, and all of a sudden ZCAR ends up doing this really impressive curl off the low. So, you know, I think at this point people are like, it has no news. I don't understand why it's up. And I was like, I agree, I don't know. But it's not doing a round trip. You know, it's pulled back, but it's holding. Comes back up to VWAP, dips down. Back up to VWAP, dips down, and then all of a sudden here we start to pull away. Little 1 minute pullback right there. And this was super annoying because I took this trade right in here and I stopped out on this red candle. I added a little too high on it because I thought it was going to go straight to 10. And then I brought my cost basis up too much. And when it pulled back, I had to get out. So it was not a loss. It was just a break-even trade. But I was annoyed because then a minute later, it ends up ripping up to 10. The problem is we ended up having this double top. So high of 1044, second double top around 1050. So you get that big squeeze, then the pullback, then it comes back up, and then the pullback again. Comes back up here, dips back down, back up, back down. And this is where I started to get interested because I was thinking, you know, it seems like it's holding this level, and I'm thinking we're going to break through this high. So I end up taking a trade going into the open. We get a pop, a little pullback, another pop through the new high, a little pullback, and I got my final trade at the open right here. And you end up seeing this dipped off of 950 and then squeezed all the way up impressively to a high of $16 a share. It halted up a couple times, then it halted down, opened lower, and even after that halt down, it rallied back up to a new high, kind of a double top, but it did make a new high. So this was not the absolute cleanest chart I've ever traded. It was a little choppy. And one of the things that was really interesting at the open, a lot more volume came in, but the spreads got bigger. I think the spreads got bigger in part because it got a little more expensive, But usually when you see higher volume, the spreads get tighter. And the opposite seemed to happen. Higher volume and the spreads got bigger. And so we started seeing these big candle wicks. These are like 2-point drops and then recovery. So this for me got into an area where I felt like I really couldn't manage my risk safely on it because I just didn't want to risk giving back the profit that I made a bit earlier on some of these nice moves. This was a nice move, and this was a nice move too, but it had these whips that we didn't have earlier. So I think part of it is the algorithms doing stop hunting. So once you have the 9:30 opening bell, you can start using stop orders. So when people put out stop orders, then all of a sudden the algorithm and the market makers can see those orders. So they sweep the book, they flush it down, it takes out all those orders and it comes right back up. And that creates these big whips during regular trading hours that you really don't see pre-market. Pre-market and after hours, you can't use stop orders. So by the way, when I say I stopped out, I just use that expression to mean that I sold for a loss or basically hit my max loss or the place where I was going to exit. But in fact, before 9:30, there are no stop orders. And I think that that's actually better in one sense because we don't see the stop hunting from those high frequency trading algorithms. So, and the market makers. So anyways, nonetheless, right now it's pulling back a little bit. It's still sitting up 236%. KIDZ is sitting up just under 200%, 185%. So we really got some pretty big momentum today. And that's a really nice surprise for the month of May. I mean, all of a sudden, boom, I'm starting the month with $33,000 in profit. And that's a great sense of confidence. Now that rejection right there, see, that's a nasty one. Do not want to overstay my welcome on these. I want to get in, get green, and then do it again tomorrow. So I'll be back at it tomorrow, streaming as usual, 7 a.m. for members at Warrior Trading. You guys who haven't already downloaded my suite of PDFs, you can get my 5 Pillars of Stock Selection, my 112-page technical analysis PDF, and there's a number of others that are included that you guys can have for free. So utilize them in your trading. Let me know what you think. And I'll remind you as always that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and always practice in a simulator before putting real money on the line. If you want to check out a couple more episodes that I recently uploaded, I'll post those right here. And I hope you, as always, I hope you enjoyed this episode and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, that's it for me. I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning.